Hi, and welcome to the Leader's Edge, our weekly live interview show where Georgia Donaldson and I, Emily Chee. Good morning, Georgia. We feature successful CEOs and professionals who are so kind to share their stories with us. We want to bring awareness, inspiration, and leadership tips for you to action to help you sharpen your competitive advantage and make a positive impact in your organization and community. And remember, if you are watching us live, you can leave a comment on LinkedIn if you want to ask a question for us to address on the show. So today, Georgia and I are going to be talking about something very interesting. At least we think so.
We think so.
It's called Leading in Chaotic Times. And I don't know about you, but I know that for me, last week left me feeling a bit whiplashed.
Yeah.
It was just thing after thing on the news that was sounding so crazy. It was like a lot to absorb. Um, and I mean, I guess what's causing and the underlying, what's causing all of this is there's just so much uncertainty about the future, about
Yeah.
the impact of all of these changes on ourselves, on our businesses, on our family, and feelings and emotions rise up in us. And I know for me, it could have been things like anger. How could people do things like this? How could they think like this? What is going on? And then helplessness, because
Yes.
I can't change any
What
of it.
can
I
you
can't
do?
do any of it.
Hmm.
And sometimes, even locally too, you get a sense, I feel like I get a sense of frustration with the way things are going, and like institutions don't seem to work and people not communicating, and so I don't know, but these are some of the feelings that are coming up or have been coming up for me when faced with all of the news, the recent news especially, and I guess the rapid pace at which things have been coming at me, Georgia. This has been
Yes.
this has been me personally, and for the awareness piece this morning, I'd like you to think about what are some of the feelings that have been coming up for you. Have you thought about how you're feeling about some of these things? And you know, I think when we to address something or to be able to deal with it, we must sort of stop a second or a
Yeah.
minute and sort of recognize, well, how do I feel about this? What is it? How is it impacting me? Instead of just powering on and barreling through and just kind of, or maybe just distracting ourselves and not worrying about it, or quote unquote worrying. So Georgia, these are my
Mhm.
thoughts this morning when I think about chaos. Talk to me.
Emily, you're mirroring lots of things that have been going through my head over the past week, and you and I have spoken about it. And we have moved from one stage to another. So it's anxiety, it's fear, it's anger, it's feeling overwhelmed. I've spoken to a few other persons too who are concerned about their relatives. Are they going to be coming back home? Is the country prepared? Are the Caribbean countries prepared? What about the tariffs? What about immigration? So many different things and feelings coming up for people. And we're saying, yes, it's rapid change, but it's not just rapid change, it's chaos, because we're not seeing in many instances where there is a plan or preparation to deal with what's taking place. And when we're talking about leading in chaotic times, we're talking about extreme confusion. We're talking about disorder. We're talking about when things are so unpredictable. So we know, for example, if a company is going through a change process, there's transition and you plan certain things. But can you imagine if a company now just suddenly has to lay off 500 persons, or a system just totally crashes? That is the chaos. And we're seeing now where not only systems in organizations are crashing, but systems in countries are crashing. And people are feeling overwhelmed and frustrated. So, Emily, in times like this, what do we do? And as coaches, when our coaches come to us, what do we say? What do we do? How do we guide them? And I know you have some thoughts on that. So,
Yeah.
you want to help us, Emily? Because I think I need some of what you need to talk about this morning.
Yeah, and we talked about it. We touched on it last week when we talked about Barney,
Yes.
you know. And I think I don't know, it was like a precursor
It was a precursor when I thought about it. Yes.
to it's just such an example. Last week was such an example of
Mm-hmm.
everything that is brittle anxious, the anxiety
Mm-hmm.
producing uh, things that are going on
Yes.
because of the, as you say, the level of potential chaos when something is
Mm-hmm.
announced without a plan as to how this will be executed, and people just have to sort of absorb it and
Yeah.
deal with
Roll
it.
with the punches, as they say. How do
Yeah,
you roll with the punches when so many
you just
punches
figure out
are
how to
coming at
roll with
you?
punches, you know.
Yeah.
So, I wouldn't have liked to have been Mexico or Canada last week having to
Oh,
negotiate, in such circumstances, because it's
yes.
unprecedented the way in which things are being thrown at people
Mm-hmm.
at all different levels, leaders,
Right.
as you say, the world order. So it's
Mm-hmm.
very interesting. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so that was it was the brittle, the anxious, the what was
Is what
the
non-linear.
non-linear
Mm-hmm.
example and
Yes.
incomprehensible, right?
Incomprehensible.
The impacts, the impacts are far-reaching,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh, if any of these things, or as some of these things get rolled out in some form, it's far-reaching,
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
So
so
you're gonna help us now. How do we maintain clarity during
so
uncertainty?
yeah, and one of the answers last week was actually to practice as leaders.
Mm-hmm.
We have to, because we're dealing with the emotionality of it.
Yeah.
Well, especially if we have very strong negative emotions around something, it's
Mm-hmm.
the old time saying is never make decisions when your emotions are high like that.
Yes.
So
Yes.
the thing is, we still have to work, we still have to make decisions, we still have to lead our
Mm-hmm.
teams, lead ourselves, function. And if we are emotional, we're not going to be functioning at our highest level.
Right.
And if we are functioning, we're not going to be functioning. We're not going to be making optimal choices. We might be doing things out of fear, out of different again emotions that may not be serving us in making the best choices,
Mm-hmm.
decisions for
Right.
ourselves or the
Yes.
so yeah. So mindfulness, it comes back to us being able to ground ourselves
Mm-hmm.
and be present in order to access some of those, put at bay some of those issues, some of those feelings, or some of those emotions that may be arising, sort of
Right.
settle ourselves so that we can access the other part of our mind. So positive intelligence is something that helps a lot with this, and how it does, Georgia, is that it breaks it down very simply into us understanding that all of us, every single human on earth, we have what is called saboteurs, right? So these are the thought processes in our heads that get very negative. So of course we hear
Mm-hmm.
in the news, whatever. The first thing that happens is we start to get very judgmental around the situation. How could it?
Right.
We get argumentative. And that is what riles up and begins the process of our negative emotions. And
Right.
natural, something happens, um we it's natural for us to maybe criticize or see,
Mm-hmm.
what is wrong with the situation.
That's
But
often the go-to response.
it's often always
Mm-hmm.
this response, right? The
Yes.
question is, if we stay there, we are unable to find solutions, because
Right.
you can't access when you have this side of your mind triggered.
Mm-hmm.
It's very difficult to access things that what we call our sage perspective. So the positive aspects of our mind,
Mm-hmm.
the side of our mind that can find creative solutions to
Mm-hmm.
problems, the side of our mind that could try to understand and go to the root of things and be able
Right.
to sort of
Right.
broaden our perspective to be able to again see how we can respond in a way
Right. Okay.
creates the potential for wins,
Mm-hmm.
more wins and losses, right?
Right. So we're
So
moving the cloud now from the judgment, so
yeah,
we can make
yeah,
right judgment.
yeah. And the judgment, as I said, creates the room for a lot of those negative emotions, and
Yes.
the constant thinking of
Mm-hmm.
those thoughts of
Yes.
judgment continues that process. So it amplifies the
Right.
negative emotions. It amplifies the anxiety if we are fearful. It amplifies the helplessness if you're feeling like, oh my god, I can't manage it.
Yes.
It just amplifies whatever way. So the idea is if you stay on that side of your mind, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
it will just continue to create that
It's a
it will continue to
spiral.
mushroom, yeah, and spiral for
Mm-hmm.
you, as well as yeah, and preventing you from really being able to
Mm-hmm.
be present, to
Right.
be grounded, to recognize that there's a lot still positive that you can, and it's not just like pasting on what's positive, but
Mm-hmm.
really just sort of allowing yourself to access, okay, maybe I can't control these things. Maybe I need to
Mm-hmm.
park them. Maybe I just need to like kind of accept that this is the world we are in right now. And if
Mm-hmm.
I'm accepting that this is the world that we're in right now, and what am I to do with that? As
Okay.
opposed to trying to get, as opposed to the other side. So again, that turns on the ability of our mind to seek. Once we've decided, okay, we're gonna accept this
Mm-hmm.
situation. If we can't convert it to a positive, to something like an opportunity or gift, we
Mm-hmm.
accept it. What can we do given that we accepted it?
Okay. Okay.
So
Good.
the way to access that is the
Let's hear
trick,
it.
right? So the way to access that from the positive intelligence, uh, I guess, teachings would
Mm-hmm.
be to utilize our body. So
Mm-hmm.
we're getting more into our body versus into our head, because it's the head that is overthinking, right? It's
Yes.
our analytical mind that's going on
Ooh.
fire. Yes, like yeah. So 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 one of the things to do, I mean, and if you are listening to us, and if you're driving, of course, obviously you can't lower your eyes, but you could still feel a sense of being in your body. So depending on where you are and how safe it is, just
Mm-hmm.
listen to what is being said here, and you can probably try to practice as I lead you through this really short exercise. So let's first feel our bodies in our chairs. Are we sitting? If we are sitting, feel the weight of our bodies in our chairs. Notice how that feels when you think about that sensation of the support. If you are standing or walking, you can feel your feet on the earth, on the ground. Then notice your breath. How are you breathing right now? Is it shallow? Maybe deepen that breath. You could put your hand on your stomach or your chest,
Mm-hmm. Just to feel it.
and yeah, feel it rise. Feel your breath, your inhale and your exhale rise and fall of your chest or stomach. You could close your eyes if you can. That might help. And then you can listen to the ambient sounds around. So, what is the furthest sound you can hear? Is it a bird? Is it traffic? And then, what is the nearest sound you can hear? Can you hear your own breathing? And while you're there, you could probably take two fingers, your thumb and your index finger. This is a very famous positive intelligence one, where we touch our fingers together, rub them gently together, very slowly. And it's almost like you're trying to feel the fingertip ridges
Mm-hmm.
in between each finger. And just a minute or two of something like this, Georgia, really
Mm-hmm.
just settles you down. It
Mm-hmm.
settles down, it settles down the spiraling effect that your
Mm-hmm.
mind would have been going through. And it allows you to come back and ask a different question. So as I mentioned, okay, so this is what is going on. Let's see. How can
Mm-hmm.
I how can I respond to this in a way that would support
Yes.
whatever it is I'm doing? How can I prepare myself given these the situation that I'm facing.
You
And
almost had to wake me up.
because because your brain is like on fire, and it
Yes, yes.
relaxes, relaxes you in that moment,
Mm-hmm.
and it allows you to just reconnect.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important. Like, so when I do this with people, and I help them to practice it, basically we're practicing this all the time, because you're in a
Mm-hmm.
meeting, somebody says something crazy, and you just so
Yes.
have a way
Yes.
of coming right back down to realize, okay, how can I think this through? How can I respond in a moment? So it allows you to get really savvy with being able
Mm-hmm.
to practice these in a moment. And of course, if there are bigger things or heavier things like what we're talking about, world issues, um, you probably need a lot more of these practices on a more
Mm-hmm.
regular basis to kind of help you get through them in a way, as I said, that allows for access to
Mm-hmm.
parts of your brain that gives you the ability to have
Right.
to make more optimal decisions. So you're not
Right.
going to be running scared. You're not going to be overprotecting. You're going to be making decisions, because we have to live and operate in the world. So we have to figure out, well, how do we live and operate in the world? How do we get our businesses through this? How do we get our teams through this? What are the things? What are the ideas or the that we can execute on? You know,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Good.
And how do we pivot if the
Yes.
idea is
It
not
needed. Yes.
anymore?
Yeah. Emily, I'm hearing, and I'm looking in my glass ball now. I'm hearing some of the CEOs, these busy people, and some of the leaders who have to manage so many different competing priorities. I'm hearing them say to us, "You expect me to sit and do this? I mean, I have a busy life. I'm going through so many things each day." And this is what we're saying to them. At any point in time, even during a meeting, your feet are on the floor, you feel your feet on that floor. You breathe. Nobody knows what you're doing, but you are centering yourself. Before you make that response, you said something there, Emily. You could be going through a tumultuous meeting, and your natural response is to lash out. But if you feel your feet on that floor, or if you put your hands on the table and you just breathe, your response will be different. So instead of reacting, you will now respond.
Mhm.
And it's so important to recognize that great leaders are defined not only in stability, but during chaos as well. I think if leaders know nothing else from today, we know that great leaders are defined not only during stable times, but during chaos as well. How do we want to be remembered? How did we handle a situation during chaos? We have so many people who are looking up to us,
Mhm.
relying on us, expecting us to lead them. How are we managing through chaos? We have to take care of ourselves first, understand how we are responding to what's going on around us. So, Emily, what you shared is so powerful. What are we
Thank you,
telling people
Georgia.
now to leave this morning? What are we leaving them with?
Well, well, I mean, if you found the exercise, if you tried any of what while we were going through it, if you found it helpful, I just want to encourage people to insert some of that into your
Mm-hmm.
daily life. So it's a great morning practice to do a little exercise with yourself. And as we said, the more you practice, the more easily you can integrate it, as Georgia said,
Mm-hmm.
into anything that's going
Yes.
on, into anything that's going on. So I would say yes, as leaders, as people, as persons, wherever you are, because I always say that we are all leaders. We have to lead
Yeah.
our
Yep.
um, before we lead teams or anybody else. So, yeah, my call to action to you today is to think about embracing some of this, or maybe not think about it, just do it.
Just
Just
do it.
see how it
Yeah.
feels. And if it feels good, keep doing it.
Mm-hmm. Sounds good. Sounds good, Emily. That's a great way to start the week.
Yeah.
Well, thank you
So,
for
thank
sharing
you.
your Monday morning with me. And thanks for all of you who are watching and those of you who will catch it on the replay.
Yeah.
We
Thank you
appreciate
so
you being with us. Have a great week, everyone.
much. Bye now.
Yeah.
All right.